Hi, I'm Shannon from houseimprovements.com, and I'm going to show you how to remove an existing door opener, garage door opener, and install a new one. In this case here, we've got a homeowner who has chain drive door openers and they want to change to a belt drive to hopefully quiet them down a little bit. So we're going to swap one of them out today in this video. First of all, we just kind of open up the box and set everything out here on the table. We're not going to use it all because in this case, some of it's interchangeable with the existing opener, so some of it we won't have to use. Another thing that's worth mentioning, basically what you see here is what came with this new drive. What you see right here is an extension kit because the doors here are oversized. A standard garage door is generally 7 feet tall. These ones here are 8 feet, so for that requirement we need a different belt and an extension in one of the rail pieces to accommodate the extra height of the door. So again, we basically got everything here. We've got our rail parts, which just simply slide together, which you'll see. It should come with some kind of brackets to mount it to the ceiling. Most times, most openers don't come with enough brackets, so you may have to purchase some extra ones for that. The rod for attaching to the door, all the miscellaneous hardware should all come with your door. This one is going to have some visor controls. It's going to have a wall control, which we'll be switching out with the one that's existing. You might have a punch pad that goes outside on the door frame of the garage, so you can open the door without a key from the outside. This one is also internet accessible with a additional purchase of I don't know if it's a router or what you really call it, some gizmo that plugs into your computer and you can operate it from your phone or through the internet. If for some reason, I don't know why you'd ever want to open your door from extended distance, but anyways, this one has that feature. That's irrelevant in this case. Basically, this video is just about swapping the doors out, the door openers out. So first thing we're going to do, we're going to clear the table off of the stuff we don't need. We're going to put the rail together, get it attached to the opener, get the belt on it, and then we'll actually do the removal of the old one and swap this one in its place. Okay, so we went through everything we had on the table here, and I think we hopefully have just the parts that we need. Seemed like we took half the materials away, but with the old unit, we're going to be reusing the door sensors, the wiring over to the button over at the walk-in door. I think we're going to be able to reuse the bracket that runs down and actually hooks on the door. So there's a few things that we're going to be reusing, and in your case, some of those things might be possible as well. So the rail system here is actually the same on both these openers, but we thought we'd just put this new rail all together on the new opener, and then you kind of see how things go together. But some of the other things that are hooked right to the wall, like the wiring and that, we're not going to bother changing. They were all functioning fine. So we've got all our chunks, as I said, and what we're going to start out with is we've basically got a bunch of rail sections to put together. This particular one is pretty easy. All the pieces just slide together and they basically clip into place. So we need all these hooked together. Including the extension that had to be bought separately. Make sure I'm getting this the right direction. Sorry, I just want to be sure. Yeah, this should be right. We'll stick that section on there. Oh, we had a piece of hardware inside this tube that we didn't know about. I wondered what was moving inside there. So that was just a support piece to hang the operator. So I'm just going to lean this here hopefully so it doesn't fall off the table. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bolt this to the top of the motor just before we've got the arm hooked onto it. So there should be a couple studs or a couple nuts on top of your opener. And you're going to have a some kind of bracket that will hook to the opener that fit those locations. I'll just quickly get that on there. And there's usually only one way it can go on, so you can't really screw it up. It doesn't have to be super, super tight, just get everything nice and snug. Like so. Okay, so now the rail will go on to here. Maybe, if I can get it lined up right. Maybe I should have put that bracket on the rail first, might have been easier. And I can't get it on there. So let me just quickly take this off. I thought it would be easier to do it this way, but it's not going to go into that very easily. There. Just with the painted surface, it doesn't slip together super easy unless you got the exact angle. And camera guy's just going to lift that end up so that this bracket sits on there nice and flat until I get it tightened down. Okay, that should sit there. So when he sets it down, you'll just notice the motor tipped up a little bit, not a big deal. You're going to have a bolt that acts as a stopper. And of course you can read your instructions as well just to identify your particular parts. Any I've ever done look just like this. You're going to put that through usually the first hole after the motor on the rail. And again, it doesn't have to be super tight, just snugged up. So that's your stopper. I wonder if this will sit here. Yeah, that's going to sit there. So we're going to slide our trolley. That's this gizmo that slides back and forth on the rail. We're going to slide our trolley onto the rail. Yep. Without breaking it. That was just one of the there's a little nylon guide, kind of a bushing in here. Keep it from wearing. It just popped off when it slid on the end of the bracket, or end of the rail. There we go. So we've got that on there. We're going to have a little pulley at the far end, so when the belt, or if you're using a chain drive, when it goes around the end there, the little pulley is just what guides it around the corner down at that end, and that's this bolt. So I'll go put this down here. And you'll notice there's a, can you see that? There's a cutout in the end of the last section there, and that's for the pulley. Slide the pulley in, drop your bolt in, and tighten that up. Okay, and again, just don't strong arm it, just get it snug so you don't crush that section of the rail. We've got that all on. Now our belt we can feed around, and it's going to hook onto this trolley here. Actually, I kind of need to reposition this a little bit, so we'll maybe cut here and I'll get this sitting in a little better position. It's not going to really working on the table here. Okay, so we switched our setup around here a little bit, and the angle of the camera obviously. The reason being is we need this trolley to be behind the second hole here. We're going to stick an awl in there just to have the trolley up against something. So anyways, we need to kind of raise things up here so this would work properly. We're at the stage now where we can put the belt on. So the belt generally is just going to clip into the trolley on that one end. And then without getting it twisted and crossed up, we need to feed it around the pulley at this end, back around the motor, and hook onto the other end of the trolley. So I'm just going to put that, oh, and I guess we've got to pull the pulley out to get this. There's a metal bracket crimped onto the end of the belt here. And it's a little wider than the belt. It won't quite fit between the pulley and the cutout in the frame of this rail. So I just got ahead of myself. Whoops. So we'll just pull this out. Hopefully I don't have that crossed. I can get the pulley or the belt around the pulley, get the end of the belt through the hole. There's always some little thing that doesn't quite go right. And now we can put that all back together. Something I'm going to do just before I forget about it, because I just noticed it again. In this one, in the very end here, there's a little tab. Maybe you better come take a closer shot of this. So right here in the end of this rail, there's a little tab that they want you to bend up. And it's basically a stopper so the trolley can't go too far. That screwdriver isn't quite fitting that. So they want this tab to be just standing straight up. They don't make it super easy to do. There. So when the trolley comes ahead, it can't bind up here with the pulley and everything. So we just need to bend that up. I kind of forgot about it. So you can see here now, since you're at this end, the belt's going to run around that pulley. Don't worry if the belt has a few little kinks in it like that. That's just from shipping. That'll all work its way out once you get things tightened up. And we're just trying to keep it on the pulley down there and feed it around. So you can see this is why we need this awl or the screwdriver in here for the trolley to go against, because I'm pulling some tension on the belt, and that trolley would just want to spin all the way to the end. So that's the reasoning for that in there. Okay, so we switched our camera angle again. I've got the belt around, you can see it here. There's a cogged gear or pulley or whatever up on top of the motor. Just need to make sure you've got the cogs of the belt and the cogs of the pulley. We're just going to let that sit for a minute. Now we've got this tensioner. So I can take this spring part off of there. Don't release the spring yet. You'll see what I mean about that in a minute. Come on. Okay, and you should have a chain link in there, and that's what hooks this to the end of the belt. Okay, so we've got a hole that will line up with all this. Am I holding it at a decent enough angle for you? So it's just basically a chain link, like a bicycle chain sort of thing. Okay, so when you're all said and done, that's what you should have with that part. And you'll notice, it might be really difficult to see. Can you see that there's a flat edge on the end of the, or on this one side of this bolt? So it's flat here, and it's just threaded. Well, it's been kind of ground off on that side. And you'll notice this hole down here is that same shape. So you just need to get it through the hole the same way. I don't think it'll even go through the wrong way. So make sure your belt doesn't have any twists in it. I've got to get it a couple more cogs tighter around here. And no twists. I talked about that flat side of that bolt and I put it in the wrong direction. So that's important, as I was saying, and then I did it wrong. What is that, like 3 mistakes already? Oh well. So we'll just switch this around. So flat side in on this one. Okay, that's all in there. It should fit this time. Keep losing my tension there. I suppose if you had somebody else, another set of hands, they could kind of keep the tension on that for you. Okay, and then we want to put this bad boy here back on. So we'll just get that started. And we're just going to finger tighten it up against this bar here. Like so. We can pull this out now. Okay, so we've got our, and you might think this looks wrong, and I did too. I actually looked back in the instructions in one of our brakes. It looks like this should be hanging from the bottom, but they show it coming into the top like that. And I suppose once the tension's all on here, it's going to look just fine. Now, what you need to see is this little silver washer. Can you see that? Camera dude? Okay. Which size are we? I think we're 7/16. Now, they've kind of got this spring preloaded, and what you need to do is give this nut on this end about a quarter turn to release this locking spring, or this locking washer, and it will let that spring open up and put tension on the belt. So when I'm all said and done, then this silver washer will be should be right against here once it turns the right direction. So let's just see if we can get this to do it. So there's a little notch in that washer. Get a screwdriver kind of wedged in there. Give this a little turn. Come on. There. So you've seen how that spring tightened up, and that is what sets your belt tension. If you chain drive, actually I believe most of them use that same kind of setup. And if they don't, then it's just a matter of tightening this to what they want for slop in the chain. But for the belt, it's just like this. Okay, so we got that. We've got the belt all on there. We don't have a ton of spare parts left in the bowl, so we must be doing something right. I think the last thing we've got to do is add there's a little guard that goes on top of this pulley. Just kind of keeps your fingers out of there, and I suppose it might, maybe keep the belt on too. So it should come with a couple of little screws, and it just simply sits on there, line up the holes that are in the housing, and screw it into place. There we go. Okay, so we've got that all basically pre-assembled, ready to go. The only thing I haven't put on is the emergency release line and handle, and that'll just be easier to do once it's hanging in the air. I think we're at the point we're going to kind of push this out of the way. and we're going to drop down the old one. Okay, so we just moved some things out of the way. I went up and unplugged the old opener from the power source so we don't have any issues. What I'm going to do first of all is remove this bracket here from the carrier. And this one just has a pin with a little wire loop through it. Is all that's holding this one on. So I can take that out. And I'm going to pull the emergency release so I can move the trolley. I'll just stick this back in here so I don't lose it. Okay, so now I'm going to go to that end. I should be able to loosen the bolts, or take the bolts out, remove the wiring, and lower the old one right down to the floor, and then come back to this end and undo it from the wall. So we'll do the wiring first, and most of them now just have a little kind of a push button. So you just need a really small flat screwdriver to push the release and pull the wires out. I'll get them unhooked from this little clamp first. If you have any doubts about what wires go where, wouldn't hurt to take a picture of this before you take any of it apart. And then hopefully you have no issues when it comes time to hook the new one up. Just kind of a little clamp there that holds all this. Okay, generally they're color coded, so that should really help you out, but if they aren't, like I said, just take a picture and then you don't have any mess ups. So I don't know if you can really zoom in enough, but on this one I'm just pushing in on this little orange tab so that I can pull the wires out of that location, and just do that on all of them. Okay, so we've got the wires hanging free. I'm just going to put them up there out of the way. So that's that. Then depending on how your unit's hung, there should be some bolts in the top there that are holding it in position. And I think I want to have my ladder over here, so if I get it loose I can just bring it down with me. Just get them loosened off. I might need a hammer, so I'll bring that up too. I know it's kind of hard to see this, but once you get looking at yours, I think it's going to be pretty self-explanatory what you've actually got to do. And everyone could be just a little bit different. So once you get that off, just pull the support mechanism out of the way, and you should be able to walk this down the ladder and get your fingers pinched with the trolley. And this one's hitting on the spring at the door, so I can't let it rate down to the floor. So I'm going to just put it on this little stand right now. That's tall enough. There we go. Bring this stuff down so it doesn't hit me on the head. That one I'm talking from experience. And we've got the same kind of setup at this end here as we had here. It's just a little pin with a wire loop through it to hold it. So I'll be able to get that out of there. And hopefully get this out without anything falling. Okay, that pin's out of there. So fairly quick to get the old one out of the way. And this one is functioning fine. It's probably going to be sold again. It's just a little too noisy. So we'll just set that one there out of the way for now. Now we kind of got to basically just do the reverse to install a new one. So I've got my pin and everything up there. I'm basically going to set the new one in the same kind of position here, put that pin back in, and basically reverse engineer from what we just did. The rail's just a little bit longer on this one, so I got to move that back. Get that resting there. Wow, I don't know if you can hear the wind howling in the video here, but you'd think it was 50 below in dead of winter here, and it isn't. It's like a nice 30 degrees Celsius day, but it is a little breezy outside. Okay, so I've got that pin in. Now I'll be able to lift this side up. One thing I didn't do was actually measure this distance, but it looks like it's the same. So we should be all right. You may have to redo your brackets depending on what you've got up top. Oh, you know what though? No, it should be okay. I was going to say maybe our brackets won't even be in the right spot, but I think we're all right. Get my ladder in position. We'll find out here right away if we're going to be okay or not. I did have to move this bench back a little bit, which makes me think that the rail's slightly longer. But we will find out here right away. Yes, it's definitely longer. So you can see there's a difference here in the position this is going to be. So in our case, we're going to have to move all of this back in order to line up here. So I'm just going to cut so we can mull that over, and then we'll come back and show you how to do it. Okay, so what we've determined is we rigged up some different brackets or bracing on this motor. Our braces coming off the roof are going to be out in this position, and we've just rigged up these other brackets, and we'll show you once we get it hanging up there exactly what we're doing. What we determined the problem is the original person that installed these didn't actually use the extension for the 8-foot doors. They used the 7-foot doors. And so what they did is they actually took, can you see this hole right here? That's where that bolt is supposed to be through to keep this trolley from going past that point. So they took that bolt out and got lucky enough that the trolley doesn't hit the motor, but yet opens the door far enough. So basically they used a 7-foot rail on an 8-foot door and did get away with it. In fact, we didn't even notice until we had this situation. So anyways, we've got the extension in. So the brackets hanging from the ceiling, as you've seen, are in the wrong spot. And we've just had to modify the brackets on the opener to make it work. We could have crawled up in the attic and put in some blocking between the trusses and moved this all over, but in all honesty, this just seemed to be an easier way. So, and nobody has to go in the attic then. But you may have to, depending what you got for your situation. So we're going to get this all up there, get it hung, come back, hopefully finally get this finished. Okay, so we finally got this thing hanging, so you can see how our braces now are all bolted. So we've basically suspended this back here and picking up the weight with the angle bracket up to our original brackets there. So everything's hanging basically from the original position. We've hooked up the low voltage wiring. These two right over here on your left, one of the wires has a red stripe on it, one is just white, but they're hooked together. Those are coming from the wall module, or the wall control, so those correspond to the colors there. And again, Just like when I removed them, I just had to push that, in this case, this orange button in and stick the wire in the hole. These two over here are coming from the sensors at the door. Those are the sensors that don't allow the door to close if something's in the way. And again, on each one of those, there'll be one wire that has black and white on it and one that's just white. So they hook up to the corresponding connections there. We've got another video where we installed an opener on a new door right from scratch, right from new. And we go into detail on doing all the adjustments for the door travel and all that. So we'll put a link in the description below to that video, so you can get into more in-depth information as far as the controls. They may or may not be the same as your opener though. Okay, so we've got our low voltage wiring hooked up. We've got our main power hooked up. All these wires will get tied over and out of the way and looking neater at a later date. Throw your light bulbs in, and then you're basically done up here at this end. Then we'll go down and we'll we'll go to the wall. We'll hook the switch on first, and we'll cycle the opener before it's hooked to the door just to make sure everything's okay, and then we'll hook it to the door. Okay. Okay, so we're over at the wall controller. So we've got to remove this controller to install this new one. So depending on your controller, you'll have to do whatever you got to do to get your old one off. I'm not even sure how this one comes off. Looks like this is going to do it. We've got the opener up top unplugged, so you should have no voltage here. Get our wires off. That out of the way. Let's see what we've got on this one. So I've never seen any with any more than just two screw connections here. You're going to have a positive side. In this case, this one says red. I don't even know if it matters if you had these reversed. I think it would still work, but anyways. Try to get them to the correct corresponding screws. This one's labeled red and white, and it just so happens my wire is red and white, so we'll be good. Now, okay, looks like maybe we might get lucky and even the mounting screws are going to line up here. Yep. And again, we'll tidy up all the wiring at a later date. I don't think you need us to show you how to do that. Okay, so the controller is switched. I'm going to go plug the opener in. We'll cycle the opener and we'll see what happens. Nothing. Oh, there we go. Okay, so we definitely have to do some adjustment on the travel because it completely went too far. We'll do some adjustments and we'll try it then. Okay, so we're back. So basically all the issue was we had to adjust the travel distances for up and down on the new opener so we could actually get the belt and that to travel properly. So we've done that. We've got it hooked back up over at the door. We basically got everything functioning and everything's ready to go. One thing before we do wrap up, I just wanted to compare the chain drive opener, which we still have on that other door as far as noise, to the belt drive, just for interest's sake to see what you guys think. So let's run the belt drive opener first for a few seconds, and then we'll run the chain drive so you can see the difference. So that was the belt drive. Let's see the chain. So you can see there is some difference there. I'm not sure how well that turned out on recording, but hopefully you can tell some difference on that. And that brings us to the end of our video. It turned out to be a fair bit longer than I totally intended that it would be. Hopefully we can do some editing and speed things up a bit. But as always, I'm glad that you watched. If you liked the video, click the thumbs up. Don't forget also, we do have that link in the description below to our other garage door opener video if you need to get into adjustments, or maybe you're installing a door right from scratch, right from new. So yes, so just click the thumbs up, give us a like, then we know that you are watching and that you like what we do. And you can always also check out our Patreon page. You can check us out on Facebook, Twitter, all our social media. We appreciate you watching, and we'll see you next time.